inspire other people to do more things.
Likewise, man, I really appreciate those words. Really glad to have crossed paths with you and, do a lot of great things in the near future, which is, it's already brewing. You and I are on the cusp of graduating with our respective degrees. So kudos to you for that, for overcoming a lot. I think the other thing I want to say is that, not everything is guaranteed. I think that's a gimme, right? That's very cliche, very obvious. But I think the one thing that is also guaranteed is that if you don't try, 100% of the time you're going to fail. So at least do something so you could keep, moving along some direction till eventually you do find direction and get to where you want to be at. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, B. So tell me, dog, how has your experience been thus far at UCLA, even though you're on your way out?
All right. So it is my 4th year, and yes, I'm on my way out. So, a lot of it was a big learning curve because you are in Los Angeles. It's a lot of
temptation,
interesting things out there. You know what I mean?
Is it
expensive, but I mean, like I tell people from out of town, you go to Eventbrite, compared to other cities, there's always things to do every single day in Los Angeles. Like I met DeAndre, who's helping direct it. Like we met on a Thursday night going out. And I was, in one of the stories, I was talking shit about Thursdays, but like for real though, there's always something to do in LA, regardless of what day it is. Even if it's nothing, you can be creative and start some.
Yeah. So that's the one thing I envy about you. Like, nigga, you do something every day. Like, I swear to God, I'm like, where do you have the time to do a Ph.D. and fucking go out every night? Like, I swear, I look at your Instagram, you're like here, there. Monday night, you're at the club. Tuesday night, you're at the bar. Wednesday night, oh my God, dog. When do you
let me tell you something about that approach. Something's got to give. So,
I'm telling you.
Not to dry snitch on myself, but I was on at least a 2-month hiatus on my dissertation, but I'm back on it. Yeah. But to be fair, a lot of it was also trying to get grants and partnerships. And so, a lot of that took a lot of my effort in being productive outside of my academics. But speaking of like Los Angeles and my experience at UCLA, like I said, it was a learning curve. It's kind of like you in elementary when you go to a fucking lunch table and you don't know anybody. You're trying to figure out who to sit with. So it was kind of like that.
Oh yeah,
like an orientation.
You up and looking at you like, don't sit here. It's like Mean Girls all over this shit.
I didn't watch it, but yeah, I feel it.
Oh God, it's a classic, dog. How could you not?
Something like that, but you get okay, I'm gonna deviate a little bit and I'm gonna go back to this. So there's a reason why, like, I was in AP and honors classes all throughout high school. AP calculus in my junior year, passed it. But I was like pretty much one of the few, if not the only person, dressed up like I did. I was wearing Timberlands because it was cold and rainy, and I was wearing all this colorful Jordan type, jumpsuits and all that. And so, and then people around me weren't necessarily, from the same cloth. So I was like, I want to just be around regular people who have fun. So when I went to Sac State, went through orientation, there was like a section for honor students. And I looked around, I'm like, bruh, this ain't for me. Let me just go to a regular class and find some dope people that I can meet. Right. So, I mean, that took some time, but it was the same thing at UCLA till eventually I found my group of people.
Yeah, I think my experience coming here, man, was like, let's get this over with. Like, I didn't jump into leadership or want to jump into leadership. I kind of was just like, man, I got to get this done. Like, one, UCLA was like a dream. Like growing up in LA, I never even thought I would even be here. So just that in itself was pretty shocking, right? So never touring campus. Like, I was coming from Arizona. I just knew UCLA was like in the top 5 at the time. And all of it was like, I'm going to law school, period, right? Had I went that route though, man, like I wouldn't be able to do the things that I'm doing now. I could tell you there's a lot of niggas that don't like me, but that's okay, because
how do you pick up on that? What makes you think people don't like you?
It's a given. One, you got vibes, right? Like, so you always get people that if you come in with a certain assertion about yourself, I'd say, you know, you just have a confidence that like you just carry with you just because you know what you need to do, right? Like you're not worried about trying to like make friends. You're not here to shine over anybody. You're just trying to like do your shit and get going. And a lot of people, I think, especially in the younger crowd, it gets difficult sometimes like to see that aspect. But that is part of like just being non-traditional, right? Like you got to realize that you're at a different level than other people. So in my past, like I've had a house and got foreclosed on, you know, and then I'm interacting with people that still live at home with their parents. Not that it's a bad thing, but
two different perspectives.
It's very different perspectives. Yeah. And so like balancing it out, I start realizing, okay, again, you got to kind of lead by example. And that like don't care attitude isn't the right approach. You know, like niggas just don't like that. I didn't like that, but I had to realize, okay, that's not cool. So immediately I kind of like jump into like leadership. Like first year here, I'm like vice chair for the Luskin Black Caucus. And I'm like, what do I do? And I did doubt myself a lot of times, like just trying to fit in.
Well, let me ask you something about that, because you know you say you doubt yourself, and yet you've been in this position. So for anybody who's interested in, for example, public policy that might look like you, how were you able to acquire that role in a leadership position where you're at?
Ooh, that is a loaded question.
Let's unload it then.
It's not anything you just like walk into, and sometimes it feels heavier to carry than it is to actually be a part of, right? So there's a lot of thought process going into it. It is a lot of work. You know, you're basically like, if caucuses were like a sport, you know, you're like either the quarterback who's the captain or the chair, and then you're like the running back who's like the vice chair. So you're carrying a lot of the team,